Hello friends, I'm Sajjan Singh Nihal. Welcome to Check Your Code, and today we're going to learn about start activity for result. First, we'll see how start activity for result works. So start activity for result pattern allows one activity to start another activity and receive data back when the second activity finishes. So when main activity starts second activity using start activity for result, the second activity does some work and prepares result data. Second activity calls set result and finish. Then main activity receives the result on activity result. So consider main activity as starting activity, which uses start activity for result intent with intent and request code to start the second activity and implements on activity result to handle the returned data, and also uses a request code to identify which activity returned the result. Now the second activity, which is the result activity, which receives data through intent.extras and prepares result data in an intent, calls set result with result code and result intent before finishing, and uses finish to close and return the calling activity. So the result codes which the resulting activity can use for while calling the set result method are result OK, which means operation completed successfully, result cancel, which is operation was cancelled. Custom codes can also be used there. Now we prepare our main activity, which is our starting activity, depending on the steps which we discussed. So first of all, we uses start activity for result with intent and the request code to start the second activity. So we see this through an example. So I have created one main activity where I have created the layout, which consists of a button and the text view for displaying the result. And I have created the variables with view types, and I have created one companion object. Inside that, I have created a const value with value 100, with name is request code second activity. So we have access here, we have accessed the views by find view by ID, and since we have button here, so we're going to perform the click operation on this button with set on click listener. As you can see, we have created the intent here where we have passed the context and the second activity. We also added the data to the intent with the key username, the user age, and after that we're calling start activity for result method and passing the intent where we have added the data, and we also passing the request code second activity which we have created inside the companion object. So this method is responsible for navigating from main activity to the second activity, which carrying the intent data and the request code second activity value. So now we have prepared our activity depending on the first point which we discussed, which is uses start activity for result with intent and the request code to start the second activity. Now we check the second point, which is implements on activity result to handle the return data. So now we can see in the code, I have overridden on activity result, which we can use to retrieve the result from the resulting activity. We can see this method once we created our second activity. So now we check our second activity, which is our resulting activity. So we prepare our resulting activity, which receives data through intent extras, and prepare results data in an intent. So we see this through code. This is our layout, which we have created for the second activity, which consists the text view, edit text, and two buttons, which is the send result and the cancel. So we perform operation on these views now. As you can see, we reference this views by find view by ID and assign these to the variables, and depending on those variables we're going to perform the operations. Here we are using intent to get the data which we received from the main activity here, which is called by using startActivityForResult method with intent parameter. So we are retrieving the data from this intent inside the second activity using getStringExtra, using the same key which we have used inside the main activity to store the data. So we have retrieved the data from the intent. Now we are assigning this data to the text so that it can be inflated inside this text view. After that, we're going to perform the click operation on send result button with help of setOnClickListener. And there we are creating the intent and we are adding data to the particular intent using key and result message and the result number. Inside the result message, we are passing the value from that edit text which user types here. And we are passing hard-coded integer value 42 inside the result member. So by this, we have covered the 2 points, which is receive data through intent extras and prepare result data in intent. So now we check the third point. We prepare for third point, calls set result with the result code and result intent before finishing. So we see this through code. As you can see, we are calling the set result inside the on click listener of set result button with result OK and result intent, where we have added the data from value from the edit text and the hard-coded value 42. After that, the resulting activity uses finish to close and return to the calling activity. So we see this through code. Now the finish method is being called there, which is responsible for closing the activity, the second activity, and return to the main activity. And similarly, we're performing the click operation on the cancel button, which we have added into our second activities UI. So on cancel click, set result method is been called with result cancelled code, and the finish method is been called after that. So now that we have added the logic of the click to set the result inside our second activity, now we see how we can retrieve this result depending on the code from the button click from the second activity inside our main activity. So now we are on our main activity now. So we can check the on activity result method now, where the request code is used to identify which activity returned the result. So I expand this method on activity result, and as you can see, for the start activity result, we have passed the request code second activity, which is used to identify which activity resulting the result. To distinguish between different activities, we are using this request code to identify that particular result is being retrieved from the particular activity only. So we are receiving the result from the request code second activity, which we passed to launch the second activity. So now the result we have checked, and result code, now we are checking the request code and we are handling the case where we have passed the request code second activity, and inside that we are checking for the result code which we retrieve from the second activity when the set result method is being called. So we are checking for the case where the result OK is being passed, and once the result OK is being passed, we are retrieving the data from the intent with the same key which is used inside the second activity to store the data inside the intent, which is a result message and result number. Once we retrieve the data from the intent, we are assigning it to the text view, which get inflated as a result inside the main activity as a result. And similarly, we are also handling the result cancelled condition, where the cancel button is being clicked and the set result method is being called with result cancelled, and here no data has been passed, and we are passing operation was cancelled as string to the text, which get inflated if the result is cancelled. Cancel button is clicked from the second activity. If there are another cases or other result codes other than result OK or result cancel, then it's being handled inside the else. So we try to run the app now and check how it's behaving. So now app has been run. I click on the open second activity. By clicking on the open second activity, this click listener will be called with, and the set start activity for result method has been called with this intent data and the request code. So this is responsible for launching the second activity, and the second activity I'll enter the data. Now I click on, now the second activity is launched and this data is being inflated, which is received from the main activity through intent. As you can see, here's the data which is inflated, means we receive the data from the main activity, which is John Doe age 25, which is we retrieve from the intent. Now I add the data to the edit text and click on send result. Once I click on the send result, the click listener will execute and the intent will be created and data added to the intent, and set result will be called with result OK, and it will navigate to the main activity with the result data. So now I click on send result. Now it will navigate to the main activity and on activity result method will get executed, and it will check the request code second activity and it will handle the result OK, which retrieve the data from the intent and it will be displayed to the text view. As you can see, the result from the edit text from the second activity, which is Sachin, is being displayed inside the text view, which is retrieved from the intent. So now again click on the open second activity, on clicking of which the start activity for result is being called, and I'll click on the cancel button where set result with result cancelled code being executed, and finish method will execute, which cancels the second activity and navigate to main activity. And on main activity, this been handled inside the on activity result. The result cancel is being handled where operation was cancelled is being displayed inside the text view. This is how the working of start activity for result method is taking place. But start activity for result is deprecated since API level 30. So instead of start activity for result, we're going to use register for activity result, and we're going to see this in next video. See you in next video.